Face front, true believers. Bluedragonfive here.
And Rohith Dhar.
Over 10 years ago, Marvel's Daredevil stood above the rest and showed us the quality storytelling other shows were blind to. Now, with its official return, the burden falls to us to discern the truth by asking the question, will the new show measure up to the original? Join us as we start Discerning Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 6, Requiem. So yeah, this is a pretty big episode. This is we're nearing the finish line. We're not the penultimate yet, but this is very much some aftermath, but aftermath with echoes. So you well, not the character echo, but still there's a resonance to this episode. What do you think overall, Rohit?
I think this episode does a really good job of dealing with the aftermath of Vanessa's death. I think this, this episode especially helps to kind of give a little bit of texture and depth to Matt and Karen's relationship, because I feel like for as much as I think the second season is improving on the first, I felt that Matt and Karen especially just kind of were not in the background, but just they were functional in terms of the machinations, the plot, but I just didn't get a sense of the characterization, the direction that they were going in, as I felt that was masterfully done in the OG Netflix Marvel Daredevil. And I think this episode does a really good job of, setting up and giving a sense of conflict and clash. And the return of Jessica Jones, I think, was really good, really well done. Outside of one thing that I'll get into when we get into that section, I think especially an unsung part, an underrated part of this episode is the stuff with BB and Daniel. I think this season does a really good job improving upon the supporting characters from the first season of Born Again. So I appreciate the new showrunner Doris Gardapan and the new creative team when they came on. They didn't just abandon or written off these characters or kill them off. It's like there's an effort to make these characters sing, shine. And so I'm really excited to see how this all culminates. And I'm also excited to see where Matt is emotionally, especially in the next two episodes. From what I've heard online from people who've seen the full season, that this show ends in a really interesting place. So I'm really excited to what that means for Matt.
Yeah. Okay, with that said, let's start breaking it down. So we're going to start by recapping the plot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's what happens this episode. So Fisk mourns Vanessa and is becoming extremely unstable. He's basically, as far as we can see, he's preparing to wage war on New York with Mr. Charles's weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Charles sends men after Jessica Jones, which leads to a kind of a warehouse team up between her and Daredevil. Daniel Blake sets a trap for B.B. Urich, celebrating his birthday at his mom's house in Staten Island. Buck helps Heather Glenn process her trauma. Karen and Matt argue over what to do about that bullseye. And Karen exposes the Red Hook imprisonments in a public forum while Daredevil and Kingpin meet each other in person for the first time during the season and fight it out. Ultimately, while this is going on, Karen is arrested by the task force, which is not good, and that's the episode. All right, so that's now we have that underway. Let's get into the arcs. So we're into the real meat and potatoes of the episode and kind of track the progress of our characters. Of course, we start with Matt Murdock.
Yeah, I think Matt's arc in this episode is really interesting because I think there's something to be said in the discourse and critique of the Netflix Marvel shows and these two seasons about if Matt's kind of in a place where there's kind of a few certain plot threads or arcs that are kind of retreaded and rewrought or returned to time and time again about does Matt should Matt decide to use violence or not? Is he able to make an impact upon the city? Will he go all the way to defeat his enemies and all that nature? But I think here it's an interesting place because I think Matt is not so much. I mean, he does have his moral principles, and they always come through and through in the Netflix Marvel show, and especially seasons 1 and 2, Born Again. I think the memory of Foggy's passing has crystallized from a place of grief to be a place of salvation and righteousness. I mean, I appreciate always that Foggy was kind of his Jiminy Cricket, and so even his passing, him carrying that through in his actions, and Karen kind of just being in this other darker place, really makes for, I think, exciting storytelling. And I think here he's pushed to his limits, but it's not exactly a one-to-one retread of him being pushed to his limits in the first or third season of the Netflix Marvel show when he's dealing with Kingpin. I think here it's a matter of it's not only himself going against Kingpin, it's his whole resistance and army. I think there's an added level of pressure that I think I'm hoping to see come out in more full force in the next 2 episodes. But that subtext is still there, and Charlie Cox, I think, can demonstrably be hailed as one of the best casting choices and one of the best acted performances of a superhero project in the 21st century, if not of all time. And in this episode, he doesn't stray far from what makes him work as Daredevil. And there's nothing that sounds flat or muted. It's all in concert.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting that I think our takeaway with the Born Again series, as far as Matt kind of towing the line, the whole the moral conundrum, do we kill our villain, compared to the previous times we've done that, is that it's kind of like we've had Foggy in some way, shape, or form. Foggy and Karen, but let's just say Foggy, just for simplicity's sake. We've had kind of those characters that have been there to kind of pull him back from going over the edge.
Yeah.
And we don't have that anymore. Between what's going on with Karen, just in general, just Foggy being gone. But I think what last episode really demonstrated well and kind of reestablished, especially getting to this point, is that it's a question of has Matt learned anything? What has Matt taken away from all those experiences and everything? And now that he doesn't have that force to do it for him, will he do it on his own? And so, as far as we've been seeing, mind you, a bit of a cliffhanger this time. I mean, not a cliffhanger, but I mean, I'm just saying it's, as far as we can tell, I think what the episode's trying to get across is that Matt's not going to toe that line. It leaves him in quite a predicament of what the heck do I do if I don't make a black or white choice here? But still, it's good to see. He's very much carrying on the lessons that Foggy tried to impart to him, which is what all of the last episode was about by a flashback. The whole mercy philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt himself here, so he's got a moral conundrum, and despite doing the right thing, everyone hates it, which we kind of knew was coming, which is what we were this is kind of where we left him at the end of last episode, where he's reluctantly brought Bullseye to the Punisher's flat, the Punisher's kind of hideout, and his friends. His friends are at a breaking point, and they're vulnerable because of the war with Fisk, and it leads to him trying to, he's trying to make the right calls as a leader and as a symbol, and do what's best for everyone. And it's hard, and that to me, that's what season 2's really been about. It's like Daredevil kind of ascending from vigilante to to hero and symbol. Like literally, I'd like to keep it simple. I like that he's kind of it doesn't feel like it's an accident that we choose this season to give him the DDs on the chest. It's been a long thing for many, many years with the Netflix show and just putting him in the MCU official. It's like, man, when are we ever going to get the Ds, man? The big flaming Ds, so to speak. And we've kind of justified it narratively in a sense. And I think that's really cool, and I think we're kind of applying that thematically to the season. He's becoming a symbol, so he's going to need that symbol. I'm not trying to get all swept up in the aesthetic of how cool it is. He's got the logo, but just in general, though, it's just that he's taken a lot of responsibility, that he's never really had to do before. He's been kind of an unofficial symbol as kind of a vigilante within Hell's Kitchen, but now it's like the city really needs someone, and we can't afford Spider-Man.
Well, we're not we're contractually.
I know. It's contractually we can't land Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he's tied up in legal webs.
Oh man.
But, yeah,
you're really holding that one in.
What?
You're really jonesing to use that quote for Spider-Man.
Honestly, it just came to me in the moment. I'm not. I have no idea. It's just anyway. So let's see. Anyway, so again, after the last episode, the way I like to track his progress, and again, this could be just my read on it. I really feel that after the last episode, I like to think he's forgiven himself for throwing Bullseye off the roof and going over the line as far as we've ever seen him do it. Mm-hmm. And he's forgiven himself, and he's rededicated. He's rededicated himself and everything. Not so much that he fell off the path, but he's very much he's he's sticking firm with the ideals of Foggy and honoring them and everything that he was just kind of trying to stick to. And I think that reaffirmed everything. So I think he's feeling good about doing the right thing, and then without realizing it by this episode that it's in sticking to those guns, it is doing damage to the people around him, like Karen, because Karen is kind of the like Karen in this episode. It's a big reminder of she reminds him of where they were in Daredevil season 3, and very interestingly, and just kind of how far they've come from that. Mm-hmm. We have the whole "vengeance isn't justice" motto here, which is big. And that's kind of the idea that he's rededicated himself to, and putting him in a position kind of like Daredevil season 3, in which he's really everything's kind of coming around to, well, despite all the growth that you've had, you're really looking at one option, and he ultimately, finds a way around it. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of difficult to find what that way around it is. And, he's making some smart moves that are really paying off here, like Jessica Jones digging into the gun shipment, which, of course, gives us the Mr. Charles lead. We see Daredevil in daylight for the first time, and that's, again, that we're kind of, we're elevating him from, kind of vigilante operating at night to, he's making a stand, making a stand. The first time we've ever seen Daredevil in broad daylight, by the way.
Trying to think if there's
only one other time, and it was kind of the lighting suggests that it is not broad daylight because it was indoors, so I don't think it necessarily counts. The only other time we've seen Daredevil anything close to broad daylight was the scene in Defenders where he saved Trish from the Hand.
Oh, I see.
That was the only time. And even then, I don't know. It was kind of like, it was like they had like the red lighting and everything. I can't really. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he's crippling Fisk operations. At least his plans, it would seem, and kind of like his capital, which is going to send ripple effects for him through the season. I'm sure, for what's left of it. While Fisk is distracted, he's in a position. So ultimately, Daredevil is kind of he's in a position of power by the end of the episode, but he's out of moves because again, he has no perfect end game, and that's kind of where it's like. If he in his chess game with Fisk, he's kind of reached the point where I have him, but I can't beat him. Because physically, physically he can take down Kingpin, which we do establish very awesomely by the end of this episode. We'll get into that later. So he can beat Kingpin. We know this. We've seen this for 3 seasons now. He can do it.
4 seasons, Will. He didn't go up against Kingpin in the.
That's the thing. Not last season, but
But also Daryl didn't, get to beat out Kingpin in the 2nd season. They were kind of evenly matched.
They had an encounter, but still, I'm saying he could have won.
Yeah.
Like on principle, we know he can win against the Kingpin. Yeah. And to be fair, if you really look at it, the only time he lost the fight to the Kingpin one-on-one was because Kingpin cheated. He basically had he had him fight a ninja and soften him up. Okay, otherwise Daredevil would have won that fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm not trying to get this wrapped up in the semantics of like Daredevil would absolutely beat
Yeah.
Kingpin in a fight. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that it's a Daredevil. He's kind of things are going well for him in terms of like one on one, but that's not necessarily like the way of like kind of helping the city per se or like kind of solving the problem.
Mhm.
So he attempts he attempts to have a truce and a new deal again with parallels to season 3 there, and of course that was one of the best moments at all time with Daredevil was the deal that he struck with the Kingpin, and it's interesting that where he's kind of going to that place again where okay, I mean I'm at a stalemate with the Kingpin. My only recourse is to kind of strike a truce like we did last time. Uh, but it's going to take something more to end the cycle. And Rohit has a very good idea what that's going to be. We kind of tee it up maybe a little here, but it is it's unclear though, and unclear to him at the moment, like what it's necessarily going to take. He thinks it's taking them both out of the city, taking them both out of the equation non-lethally. Will be the trick. But how the heck do you achieve that? And that's kind of where we're at. So the pieces are, he's I think, well, honestly, my prediction, at least between this and the end, before we get to the end, I guess, is I think we're bringing back the lawyer Matt Murdock in a way of like, okay, so we've gone as far as we can with him as Daredevil, and I think because we know there's going to be at least a clip where Jessica Jones is going to be carrying a beaten lawyer Matt Murdock, so we know Matt Murdock has to come back at some point in this season.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones, we're going to see her at least one more time. Well, two more times, at least based on just footage that we have seen in the trailers for this season. We know at least get 3 Jessica Jones scenes out on the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it seems like Matt. We've done a lot with Daredevil, and that has been a very, very operative point of this season. If Daredevil's become a symbol, he's been doing all this stuff. But Matt Murdock kind of has to come back, and ultimately, in the last time they had their encounter in season 3, was despite me lifted the mask up to kind of drive the point home even further. But fundamentally, it was the lawyer and the businessman making an arrangement. It wasn't even necessarily Daredevil, kind of saving the day there. It was ultimately, Matt Murdock kind of had a clever way out of it, but, through the brute strength of Daredevil to kind of like get to that point. Or again, that's just kind of that's what Matt Murdock falls into, where lawyer by day, vigilante by night, both can only get each other so far, but it's working in tandem with the duality that's going to deliver the results they need. That you need both. Every season, I mean, in which we've had the Kingpin, we've had both kind of factor in there.
Yeah.
It's it takes a lot of legwork for both ends to actually get the Kingpin. Build a case against him, and Daredevil, bring it home in the end. And that's kind of where we're at. And we've done a lot we've kind of inverted where Daredevil's done the heavy lifting, and now we need Matt Murdock to really drive it home. It feels like to me.
Absolutely.
Just throwing it out there. All right, so let's talk about Fisk.
Fisk is very interesting in this episode.
Oh
and,
yeah.
I think new rock stars or whoever does the typical breakdowns analysis on the big YouTube channels, they mentioned how Kingpin doesn't speak much at all until the end of this episode.
No, he does not speak at all. No, you can check it. He doesn't say anything until the scene.
And
yeah,
that is just such an interesting way of approaching like Wilson's grief. It makes sense. It feels really consistent because Wilson Fisk is such an emotionally stunted individual, and Vanessa was really his outlet. Wesley to a certain extent as well.
Kingpin was very closed off and removed from everyone in the Union Allied days because Wesley was his mouthpiece, and beyond that, it was like we don't say his name. He doesn't meet with anyone really, and there was a lot of separation there. Yeah.
So I am just very curious to see, where does Kingpin go in terms of his like relation with people? Obviously, I feel like he's going to be
more dangerous than ever before.
Yeah, more authoritarian, more dictatorial, more tyrannical. Like anything. If we thought Mayor Fisk was bad in season 1 and up to now in season 2, post this episode, he is going to be a monster.
I told this. I wrote this in a thank you letter to D'Onofrio when I met him. But with D'Onofrio and the way he plays the Kingpin, I kind of had an equation that it was an obvious thing, but it kind of occurred to me. basically, D'Onofrio, and he's played this role, twice in his life, which I find interesting. But he fundamentally, the way he approaches the Kingpin, the way he plays the Kingpin to me is basically, it's kind of like Orson Welles. It's kind of like an Orson Welles equivalent to the way, to the weight and the caliber he brings to the Kingpin. It's like historically, let's say you like, let's say time and like reality was not a limitation. Let's just say you can go through time, make your perfect cast of anything. Orson Welles would not be a bad Kingpin. And it feels like, D'Onofrio would be kind of the closest we could get to that. And that just feels like a weird point to make. I just wanted to kind of get it in there somewhere in terms of like just the depth and the emotion which we're playing with the Kingpin here feels kind of Kane like. I don't know. It's
That's a very interesting comparison, and I kind of see your point about Orson Welles, because I think that emotional restraint, especially because I remember ages ago I saw a clip of Orson Welles doing a performance of Shylock from The Merchant of Venice.
Yeah.
The way he played it was so reserved.
Mhm.
So, there's just one single tear streaming down his cheek. And, obviously there's Citizen Kane, there's a touch of evil. He has that ability to play this maniacal obsession, this like casual
Third Man.
brutishness. Yeah, like Orson Welles, I think also, especially later with the kind of size he has, he certainly would have been such an opposing figure if he were casting like this Kingpin in a Daredevil project. And I think D'Onofrio, it's I think
it feels like the most closest we'd ever get, like literally by definition. Like D'Onofrio, you look at Ed Wood, or you look at like the short film that he did. He has played Orson Welles, at least in body and technically body and voice, like 2 times in his life, flawlessly. And it just feels like the closest equivalent you can get to Welles would be, kind of Vince D'Onofrio as the way he plays the Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so with Fisk here, he's silent until Daredevil arrives, which I think speaks to a lot, and that fundamentally is that all he has left is Daredevil, and just that the relationship, the fatalistic relationship he has with Daredevil, and that's why he's the only person he actually talks to, and the only person that he's really been around throughout the duration of the whole series. Yeah, yes, that's what. So Jacob says, I thought I said bot. That's why I emphasized body. But yes, and Maurice LaMarche was the voice of Orson Welles, and D'Onofrio was the body for him in Ed Wood. And then I think there was a short film where they had D'Onofrio, I think, he's fully played the character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 5 minutes, Mr. Wells, or something. It was like Orson Welles before he, rolled camera on something or played in something. Anyway, but yeah, so the Kingpin. He's emotionally devastated by the loss of Vanessa, and he is more destructive, angry, and emotional than ever before. Of course, I was geeking out. I knew this. I knew that doctor. He was well-meaning as he was doomed, and he was not picking up on the cues. And the idea that again, Kingpin could very easily blame the doctor because again, ultimately, and the people have kind of pointed this out, and I think they're it's interesting that Kingpin, he's trying not to acknowledge, the reality and the circumstances that he bore. I'm sure they're running through his mind as well, but it's like a thing where he's trying to. It's like the thing where you would blame other people before you blame yourself for something. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's think about it. Bullseye being the obvious thing. Of course, he created Bullseye, and Bullseye ultimately has always been kind of a threat to Vanessa, which there's a point in his creation, Bullseye bearing a lot of the blame. But beyond that, just in terms of medically, that nurse wanted to check on Vanessa when she woke up, and he said, "Get pineapple juice."
Yeah.
So again, these are things that kind of contribute. I'm not saying
and also Vanessa contributed to her death with her just enabling Bullseye as a missile against Foggy.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying all this is true. I'm just saying in terms of like Kingpin blaming himself. I mean, Bullseye and the pineapple juice thing is these are kind of things that he that did not help the situation. Again, for example, like if it said, well, maybe you should have just let the nurse check on her. Maybe we could have saved her. It would have been a long shot, but still, anyways, the point being, kind of blaming the doctor for not saving her, despite this doctor being very upfront, he's being the best. Like, look, we did everything we could. It just happens. And he was very nice about it. And then just, if we learned anything, you don't hug the Kingpin and live. So he just hugs the Kingpin and gets his back broken. It's like a classic It's a classic, kind of like Ramita era, Kingpin death, and I love it.
Yeah, not as gruesome as the
Not
police.
the car door, but still.
Well, I say the police commissioner's death is just
Gallows, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that death, that's Jason Aaron death.
Oh, I haven't read
Yeah.
the Jason Aaron Punisher mask, but I know the Kingpin's is like a big part of that for
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I tell you, I love the Jason Aaron Punisher run because that was again. I think I rattled this off to you or somebody. That was my barometer for Bullseye. I think it's one of the best written Bullseyes. And going into the Daredevil show, it's like, oh man, if we can do like a tenth of what we did there, and they did. It was just it's still. I was like always the barometer for man. Bullseye should be really psychologically messed up. That obviously the most psychologically messed up was the Jason Aaron run.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we didn't go that far with it, but we went into like to a similar degree in terms of like, okay, he's definitely as deranged in particular, just not like to the degree of like I want to get inside Frank Castle's head, so I'm going to abduct random families and then get him gunned down the park while I'm pretending to be Frank Castle. I love that. Like at the end of all that, it's just like what, I'm not feeling it. Let's kidnap another family. So, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kingpin, he was like the main antagonist throughout that whole arc, that whole story, and the part one of the Jason Aaron Punisher Max thing was, we had Richard Fisk, as a boy,
Mm-hmm.
and Kingpin like rising to power, like him killing Rigoletto and getting power in the organization and everything. And one of the things he did, he's basically the muscle for Rigoletto. But every time they mentioned Rigoletto in the Daredevil show in season one, I kept wondering like a part of me in preparation for season two, a part of me was thinking like, if we don't see Kingpin in prison, what would be really cool is we at some point somehow either that between it was either season two or season three, like if some way, shape, or form we could have like a flashback episode or flashback structure in which we see Kingpin rise to the ranks of Rigoletto's operation, like how Rigoletto went away, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so
It's
basically,
a good special presentation.
absolutely. I mean, I'd love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the whole
Dragon, can you just repeat what you just said? So, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, just kind of continue on from sort of the overall arcs of it all with Kingpin. I think there's always something interesting to be said about, I think Dragon mentions the performance of it all, um, you know, and the barometer bullseye. Uh, I think while we're waiting on Dragon to kind of clear up any sort of tech issues, I do want to highlight just how masterfully Wilson Bethel has played as Bullseye this season. I think he is having a lot of fun with the performance, the way he's able to not just be an outright villain, but not be an outright hero. He's just kind of a morally chaos. He's literally chaos neutral. And I just appreciate that kind of level of freedom, the ability to kind of have this very twisted sense of what is right and wrong. And it's more about if someone kills someone of your own, you kill them back. And it's just kind of a numbers game. I think I really appreciate just how, he's kind of locked up and he's basically has a gun to set from Karen. And, the way he's just kind of just eating up, Karen thinking about, killing her and about Karen thinking about killing him and all that. It's great classic, superhero tension. You have the bad guy in your captures and you're determining whether to take his life or not. And then Daredevil coming in to prevent Karen from potentially killing Bullseye. It's unclear about all that. I think it's just really, delicious, dramatic storytelling. And I think that's always important, as a narrative for characters to not just be going through the machinations plot, but to have conflict, have tension. And I think, for all intents and purposes, Karen and Matt earlier in the season was, they were in an interesting place to meet together and, fighting against the regime and all that stuff. And I think here the weight of Foggy's death has really been felt in among these two in this episode. And I think the way that Deborah Ann Walls plays Karen in this, she plays a level of vulnerability, a level of agitation that we've seen bits and parts in the earlier Netflix seasons. And I think this is kind of full force where it's like we've gone through the cycle multiple times. At the end of the day, it's either us or him. And that kind of level of practical ruthlessness, I think, is very much a strong contrast to Matt's varied idealism. And, I think these two are really at their best when there's a level of tension. And I know people have said that they find the relationship to be boring or just there's not much to glean or appreciate. And I think here, this is a very good example of having characters who could love one another, but may not always be in the same page morally, ethically, or just, philosophically, but still have a care and love for each other. And I'm very interested to see how this relationship grows, into the whole far. Hey, Dragon. I was just kind of going over sort of the highlights of Bullseye and how that whole situation really showed the sort of tension between Karen and Matt's relationship. Would you like to get into that, or want to go back to kind of finishing out the Kingpin portion of it?
Yeah, let me try and finish up the Kingpin if I can. Yeah. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see the let's see. So basically, I think as far as Kingpin's headspace is, like to him, nothing matters anymore. He's not dealing with Charles. Charles ticks him off. I think it's basically it's Charles. It's Mr. Charles's death warrant. Let's be honest. This is gonna room with the guy who's gonna kill him instantly. Hated that guy, and like he's calling him on the phone, and he's like he's not getting him like a single word because he just doesn't care anymore. He moved all the weapons again, presumably. He's going to take. The way I read him taking the weapons is okay. Instead of like holding on to them and moving them for Mr. Charles, like I was supposed to as part of this deal, I'm going to use them for a scorched earth approach to New York City with the task force. That's how I read what he was doing with them, and that's the thing. So basically, he's going to go scorched earth to make Daredevil and Bullseye, specifically Bullseye. I'm sure he's like the plan was like, okay, we're gonna tear the city down to kill Bullseye, and then Daredevil along the way if we can. Any other vigilantes just for the heck of it,
Mm-hmm.
And again, he couldn't care at this point. He couldn't care less about being mayor and the legacy in quotes. And the legacy is something that this is going to be interesting because he and Vanessa were kind of the last things they were speaking about were about the legacy and the fact they never had children, the Richard Fisk of it all.
Yeah.
And that basically what their mark on New York would and maybe the world would be basically as much of a legacy as they could have, basically a legacy of power. And so that's kind of the only thing he kind of has left. So I feel that going forward might be how he rebuilds himself and just kind of finds himself, perhaps, is So I mean, we'll see how that goes. But it's just in general, though. I mean, we kind of know this already thanks to the new Spider-Man movie. We know, like, he's definitely going to scorch the earth one way or another. That will result in him most likely not being mayor anymore. We already kind of established he's not even running for re-election, so would make sense.
Well, that didn't. I don't know if that's actually like established fact. I thought that was just kind of a false thing that Daniel just gave to BB to see if she
Well,
would
no,
run.
no, he said that he. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, remember even before that, though. I mean, the idea is that he was gonna hand it over to Sheila. That's
Well.
what Buck was saying. That's Buck was kind of like he was like the idea like it would just go to the not the next person in line, but basically the person that was deemed like the deemed replacement of the previous of the king or whatever disciple, the
Mhm.
apprentice, like that whole thing. So
For Buck to say all that, is he actually being truthful about that? Is that an accurate assessment, or is that just him to kind of spin, Daniel's wheels about, his future?
I mean, I guess it's possible, but I mean, we did give a little focus to Sheila there, which makes me wonder if by the end of things, if it's just basic Kingpin's removal, that might move her to a mayoral space, where ultimately was that just kind of what Kingpin kind of wanted, just he didn't care anymore, so like, sure, let her have it.
Yeah.
I could see it either way, and frankly, it's like at this point, losing Vanessa, it's like he really doesn't care about being mayor anymore. So any way you slice it, even before that, I mean, I think before he wanted mayors to hang on to the power and the prestige, and just
The
also just kind of
LaGuardia desk and all that.
the LaGuardia desk, and also just kind of the screw you to Daredevil that New York picked me as the savior, that kind of.
Yeah.
So by the end of the episode, I think I really feel he's come to grips with which is kind of where we were inching with him at the place we were kind of going with him at the end of last episode. I think we fully have him at by the end of this episode, is that he's come to grips with the fatalistic relationship with Daredevil, and that there's no way out, and that they're basically locked in this. That everything he loves is gone. All he has left is the unending violence, and basically the thing that's always been the ugliest thing at his core. Like ever since he was a boy, it's always just the violence and like the buzzing swirl of just anger and just the emotional just kind of discourse that he has within him, that he basically channels through the relationship with Daredevil. So like all the light in him, all the potential, all the hope is gone. That's kind of where we're at, where he's basically, I think he's just surrendered himself to like essentially super villain. He's just surrendered himself to, what, my all I can do with all my power now is just wage war on the city and just make Daredevil's life as miserable as my life is. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where he's at. I have nothing, nothing. Why build anything? Just let's tear it all down. He basically wants to be a white wrecking ball.
He's like Thanos in the Endgame.
Pretty much, yeah. That's if you look at it that way. Infinity War was, like the Vanessa years, and then, you know, the post Vanessa years.
Yeah.
All right, so Karen, so you basically talked a lot about the Bullseye stuff with Karen, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think Wilson Bethel's like Bullseye. He's very much an agent of chaos, and but it's not just nihilistic. There's no rules to it. There is a certain cold logic to it, and Karen, I think, is rightly repulsed by just how he operates and is willing to end his life right there then. And Matt coming in, we don't know for certain whether Karen's going to pull the trigger or not, but just that kind of incident, there is that dramatic tension that I think people were clamoring for with Matt and Karen's relationship this season.
A
That was
lot of people have looked at like that, like freeze frame and that, saying you're right though. It's supposed to be up in the air, but I mean, it really feels like she pulled that trigger in that, because if you look at some people have like done like the frame by frame thing, and it's like the angle which that's going up and everything is like that gun was being fired.
oh, and that makes things even more tense between Matt and Karen.
That's what it feels like. It feels like she's so angry, she's even more upset with him because like I made the decision, you took that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
I made that choice and you saved him anyway, which fundamentally is kind of her problem. So Karen, so having to save Bullseye is, to me, the way I read it is like, having to save Bullseye is too much for Karen to deal with. Like that's the line. That's going too far. It's just like, look, he made his bed, he made a mess out of things for us. Yes. I mean, just further with the whole death of Vanessa thing. killing Vanessa thing. It's just like, look, we have no obligation to save this man. Okay, that's kind of where she's at with it. And she tries to kill him for everything that even though she knows it's what he wants, and that says something in itself, because him like willing to accept it and kind of like basically begging for death, and he's just giving into that. She just wants it to end. She's had so much trauma and bad blood with this guy. It's just kind of like, I just kind of want it. She's thinking, I just want it to end. This is just, I can't, him breathing in this world, I can't take it anymore. So she's very much, the Punisher is like the angel on her shoulder, so to speak. Well, yeah, in this instance, I mean, really, it's ultimately Daredevil and the Punisher on her shoulders, but like one's, it's just we've kind of flipped it.
Yeah. And I think Karen comes from a place of just having been traumatized at such a young age, right?
Yeah.
She she lost her brother.
Yeah.
And had to basically abandon her home. She came to New York, where
her family abandoned her too, like her father. Just her father, like you're responsible for Kevin's death. I never want to see you again. Essentially, not in so many words, but with his actions.
Good point. So she's basically exiled from her home. She comes to New York to start fresh. She gets involved in the whole.
She gets framed for murder.
Yeah, and
which is even more traumatizing given the blood that she symbolically is on her hands.
Yeah, and then she's in fear of her life from Kingpin and his men. Yep. She's in fear of anything that goes on with the Punisher in the first half season 2, and then fear of her life for. I mean, does she get? Oh yeah, the hand. Yep, she gets. Yeah, she gets. Well, actually, did she ever get in trouble with the hand in the second half of the season?
Yeah, technically. Okay, so what happens is at the end of season 2, she's kidnapped. The hand breaks into the NYPD, and they steal all the Daredevil files, the people he saved and everything. So they kidnap Turk Barrett and Karen, and remember the whole thing where she's like, telling Turk Barrett to turn on his his house arrest.
Okay, and because I didn't know if that's Claire, because Claire's still in the hospital, like dealing with all. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely, so Karen definitely was, she was targeted by the hands of these, a lot of,
And then the Defenders, season 3 with Kingpin coming back with the vengeance. And then I guess the only season
and Bullseye targeting her, that was,
Yeah, and then the only outside of Fog is that the only time she was in danger was the rest of season 1 of Born Again.
Yeah.
So that's a lot for a human being to go through, especially someone who's just a civilian. She doesn't have any enhanced skills or advanced powers to make herself more safe than like other individuals. She's just a person.
Yes, I mean her takeaway is like, she's had so much trauma, so much bad blood with this guy, and like saving him is just it's driving her crazy. And she argues to Matt in a very well acted scene that maybe I was wrong, Matt, and she's been pushed to the brink by all this loss. And, he's like between Father Lantom and Foggy and there's all of this. And, and basically this is where I just love how it comes out here. She says, like, you're saving the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that's ouch, man. Just, it feels so bad. Like, she's coming down on like, oh, Matt, you can't toe the line. Or not to, basically, Matt, no, you can't. Season 3 was all built around like, we don't want Matt to go too far, but she would understand if he did, but she ultimately is on the side of Angels with Foggy of like, no, we can't let him, like, ultimately, Foggy makes the point, like, Karen's like, maybe we should let him kill Fisk, and then, Foggy, the way he convinced her and kind of got her on board with everything, he's like, no, the problem is Matt will never forgive himself if he does kill Fisk. It's the Catholic in him. He's never going to forgive himself. We can't let our friend go down that path. So Foggy always personalized it, which I felt was why, honestly, I think is why Karen like was on board for just kind of like kind of the ideology of Daredevil and with Matt and kind of Foggy and where they were ultimately needed to come from.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like that was always the personal stakes, and Karen cares about people. She cares about people and flawed individuals because she herself is that flawed individual with the darkness and blood and everything, blood in her hands and all the trauma. Like she sympathizes with the victims and the traumatized individuals, which of course Daredevil is all about preventing and saving. That's why they make such a great pair. All of these factors.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, because of that, just being the victim and just being kind of that traumatized person, it's like, after a while, it just kind of accumulates. And it's this thing of like, he is saving the wrong people. And, it's like, there's no like benefit to you or to the greater good in keeping Bullseye alive. This man is, why keep, like, there's no argument to make here aside from it's the right thing to do. And that's it. That's driving Karen up a wall. And you can't blame her for feeling that way. This is like, have you ever watched Daredevil with, I don't know, let's say a family member who, or somebody, like a friend, a family member, whatever, and you get into that Punisher argument almost, where it's like, not even just with Daredevil, any form of like superhero media between Batman, Punisher, or Daredevil. Let's say, just for example,
Mhm.
okay, and you have that old familiar argument of like, you have somebody who's going to basically come down the Punisher side, like, oh yeah, we should, oh, the hero should have absolutely killed him. And it's like, well, then you're in a position of like, well, what? You don't feel that way, or it's the interesting question, like, why can't that hero kill that person? Like, why shouldn't they do it?
I mean, if I guess I don't know if you would necessarily ask this question just for you and I to answer in our respective like worldviews or point of perspectives. In my view, heroes shouldn't kill a villain because the thing is that a superhero, they're an individual that haven't been formally trained for the most part, or formally authorized to operate outside the law. They chose to operate outside the law because either the police are corrupt, are ineffective, or they can handle certain types of crimes. But when supervillains, superpowered individuals involved, you need a certain type of individual to handle such crimes, such events. And with that kind of latitude, you know, that is really formally broken when you take someone's life because you basically acted beyond enforcing the law to making a judgment of the law.
Yeah. It's a lot of, I guess what I'm getting is there's a lot of like little factors that it's easier to make from a distance, and you have like, let's say, it's it's a lot easier for someone to make that call on the sidelines and just in general is make that call of like, like the Punisher has the right idea. Batman, I don't know what his deal is, or at least I guess to make it more Marvel appropriate. Daredevil, he's not, Daryl's not going far enough. He keeps fighting these guys. He always gets to the edge of killing the Kingpin. All his problems will be solved if he did kill the Kingpin. On the flip side, the Punisher, he should absolutely just mow them down. These are bad people. But again, it just gets to the fact of like, these guys have very different life experiences. I don't know. I guess I'm sorry. I'm not making the best point here. I guess what I'm just trying to get at is it's just kind of like it's a very relatable kind of argument to have, and the fact that if you have a friend or someone who's making that argument, that doesn't necessarily make him a bad person or anything. It
Well,
doesn't make him like,
I don't think people who are sympathetic to like the Punisher's point of view or any character who's willing to utilize violence or mete out death to
the
certain,
final solution kind of thing.
yeah. But I think because here's the thing though. I think it's like in terms of like if they're applying that to the fictional reality of the story, because we don't live in a world with superheroes and supervillains where there's revolving doors for prisons where, if one supervillain is taken down, then their costume or gadgets are appropriated by whoever else, and so on and so forth. And there's like gods and all that. Like they're like in our real world, in terms of the legal system, in terms of what justice means in practice, we as individuals are empowered to live by the law and to have the law be enforced upon us, for us, and against us. And in that respect, it is not only legally not permitted, but to a certain extent, morally important to just take a life, to say, hey, this person should not exist. This person is a threat, and this person is doing harm, and eliminate them without any jury, without any opportunity for that person to defend themselves in a court of law. In this reality, where we have an individual who has gone to prison not just once, but twice, and then come out, and then utilize their power and influence, there is a more, not necessarily believable, more persuasive argument made about, you know, meting out justice or violence to certain individuals like that, right? I don't think it'd be morally permissive to do that for the average mugger or the average like shoplifter, but like someone like Kingpin, individual who through his very force subsumes and corrupts institutions such as the FBI. He is like there is. It's not just like, hey, you killed them and solved the fine. It's like, hey, they're an active like Kingpin being out in the public is an active danger to the rule of law, to public safety, just general welfare. That someone intentionally going out to eliminate Kingpin maybe has more of a justification than just going after someone who's like a middleman or just a regular goon. On the same token, though, that gets blurry in terms of, all right, you take that person out. That doesn't mean that other people won't come in, or like even for individuals who have that level of power and influence, there's still the hope that the system works. And if you're admitting that the system has its limits, well, what system comes into place to account for that for those kind of individuals? Or do we just kind of devolve into a state of anarchy where it's kind of the Wild West and justice meted out by the barrel of a gun?
Yeah. So it's an interesting ethical conundrum, to say the least.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so Karen, by the end of the episode, she's she and Matt, they have their they have their argument. We see her attempt. She's been very proactive this season, and of course, her being proactive, she tries to save some innocent supporting characters, and that leads to her out in the open losing the wig, and she gets arrested. And of course, Kingpin's got another thing I don't think is by accident is that we had a little reminder of Wesley this season, and we've mentioned she's killed Wesley and everything. So I think Kingpin's been waiting to get his hands on Karen Page for a long time, and this might not be good, especially in the state that he's in now. And I've always had this thing with Kingpin where. And you actually got into this last time, I think, when we kind of talked about Kingpin's relationship with women, and the fact that he has a very the sensitive, kind of like the two sides of the Kingpin per se, where kind of the strength that he projected in kind of in reference to his father, but ultimately again he was really a very sensitive kid, much like because he was cared for by his mother and he's a nice kid and all that kind of. Anyway, because what I'm getting at is the fact that I've always held true that I always felt like the Kingpin, because of because being protective of his mother and the relationship he has with Vanessa, and fundamentally just the what happened to his mother. He's always had a sensitivity towards women and children, which for the most part we've seen that he basically would not hurt a woman and child like by his own hands, or he'd have like kind of like a sensitivity to that. And we've seen evidence of that through the show. And the only times he's kind of broken that were very special occasions, but it was never really by his own hand. Now, again, you could always make the argument like of those certain examples, and I don't fault you for it. I'm just saying that it's always been kind of a thing. But we always the reason I bring it up is that Daredevil season 3, we had that moment where Karen told him what happened with Wesley, and he was rising up. And I genuinely don't know, like, would he have broken Karen in two or given her a big old hug, like she did that? Like he did the Doctor.
Man, the more I think about it, I think Kingpin should be a guest character for a Mortal Kombat game. This is a good one. I think for it's I do appreciate you bringing up the women and children thing, because I wonder if Kingpin posts Vanessa in a state of chaos and nothing matters, does he break those rules?
It's like, think about this. I don't want to spend the whole time going through this. I'm just going to try and rattle it off real quick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so season 1 of Daredevil. Okay, we have the boy who was kidnapped by the Russians. He didn't permit that, he didn't like that, and he got he kind of spun it to Vanessa that like those the Russians, they kidnapped the little boy. So insensitivity to children. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Cardenas. Now that one was, he facilitated that. He took no pleasure in it, and he tried everything to pay that woman off. Mm-hmm. And it was, so ultimately that one he had the lure Daredevil there, so that was kind of a thing he really did. Daredevil and the circumstances be kind of forced his hand. He did not do that by his own hand. So that one was that's the murkiness right there. Mm-hmm. So then of course we got the background and everything on. So anyway, so then again everything, it pretty much remains true. The women and children sensitivity. He could have killed the lady who owned the painting. He didn't do that. Bullseye did that. uh,
And here's the thing: for as much as people make out Kingpin is like, oh, he loves the city, he's complicated. That when that lady and she's a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
And when she talks about fascist mentor, like, I feel like the show is making a pointed comparison between what she was talking about and Wilson Fisk, and that was season 3, where he was only disrupting the FBI, and now he's mayor of freaking New York City.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then obviously Karen, we had the big thing with Karen was question, which is the question, like, would he have killed her based on that? Then here's where it gets murky. Here's where it truly gets murky. Okay, this is where I start to question that philosophy. Okay, and I blame it's the show that I love the Kingpin segments of, but by the same token, though, I don't think they fully understood the character. You get the Echo show, and Echo. Now, mind you, this is what I'm a little unsure about. Okay, in Daredevil season 3, he Daredevil season 3, Julie Barnes. Okay, that's why it's a little murky. He definitely killed Julie again to serve a purpose, but still he didn't do it by his own hand. But he had Julie killed, and that was the only time. That's where we started to really. That's where we started to bend the rule, and then we get to Echo. He did the same thing, same way, by the way, to that poor interpreter lady. And he's kidnapping the loved. He's kidnapping Echo's grandmother. Anyway. Okay, I'm sorry. I bored people long enough. My apologies. I'm just saying.
I think the rule does apply in the sense that Wilson won't needlessly or out of state of rage harm a woman or child.
Yeah, there you go.
If there's a purpose to, like, you will not like it, but he'll do it. Whereas for the average man, if you set him off, he'll just rip you into two.
Yeah. All right, so Daniel Blake and BB Urich. This one's kind of this we're going to talk about the Daniel Blake section of the episode. So Daniel Blake, he's on a track to move up in the world, and that's kind of what Buck is doing here. They're kind of testing his loyalty here. He's already proved his loyalty with burying the body of the first mate of the Northern Star. So we've done that. He's a little haunted by it, as understandably.
Yeah.
But he did it though. He made a choice, and now it was the best choice he could make in that moment, though. Or was basically like you can either be buried next, or you can do the burying of this guy.
Yeah.
So again, Daniel Blake, Michael Gandolfini, he's doing a wonderful job. There's a lot of humanity in the role. The way he always in interviews and when they do the after show, he very much talks about he views Daniel Blake as this people pleaser. He's a guy who's just looking for direction. He's a people pleaser, and he respects a lot of Wilson Fisk being and again, how directly you draw the comparison of like a Richard Fisk thing, or he wants to be kind of like a surrogate father thing, which I think is what BB kind of ultimately sees when she sees he's kind of looking for a father figure, and that's why he's doing what he's doing for Wilson Fisk, which I think that's an apt way of looking at it. But regardless,
and it kind of is interesting on a meta level, considering Michael Gandolfini is the son of James Gandolfini, who played one of the most famous mob bosses in all fiction in Tony Soprano.
Absolutely. So that's the thing. I think that these are things I don't think are by accident in some certain cases with that. But yeah, so I think ultimately, he is, him being the people pleaser, that he is, and just kind of subscribing to, I think he sees the connection that Wilson Fisk sees himself is like there's this kid's good. He's pleasing the forces of power that are around him. That's kind of what he was in the flashback and Shadows Under Glass. That's basically he was the kid being torn between the two sides of the mother and the father. I guess what I'm trying to say in a better sense is that he's he sees weakness in Daniel Blake, but weakness that maybe that he saw in the younger version of it. That is basically a younger version of himself, but I guess an older version of himself compared to those flashbacks. But you know what I mean, right? He sees
he reminds him of his youth, and in that youth there was a great deal of weakness that he, through time and effort, has slowly burned and eroded away.
Yeah. All right. So into the episode itself, though, he faces an inevitable choice with BB. Who is the leak? We know is the leak. He knows is the leak. It's very clear. It's very obvious. She's the leak, and he probably suspects that she also specifically is the whole city without fear, gorilla fisk and all that. As we, the audience, know to be true. Buck tries to mentor him through this. He's been trying. So I love that Buck's been trying to mentor him. And of course, the internet's been having a field day with the whole evil Nelson Murdoch page thing between Buck, Daniel Blake, and Heather Glenn, which is really funny.
Yeah.
I'd say it's super well founded, but it's cute. It's a cute little runner. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one of my favorite things, by the way, I love again. We had the hot dog thing with Buck, but I love the whole. Oh, by the way, happy birthday! I said, love that he's wishing him happy birthday.
He's such a polite psychopath. I love it.
That's exactly. I love that, but it's also kind of threatening. It's just great. So basically, so Buck is trying to kind of coach him this. He's really rooting for. I really believe that Buck is rooting for Daniel Blake here. I'm sure he's prepared for the inevitability of Daniel Blake falls short, and that's kind of where the edge is. But he does genuinely like the kid. And he wants him to. He's already taken his first steps into like becoming like, becoming kind of like Buck or becoming like an indispensable kind of like fixture in Fisk's organization, perhaps. Anyway, so he uses he gives Daniel an idea of like use your birthday with your birthday plans with your mother in Staten Island to trap BB in a lie or trap BB in like being the leak. So without a doubt, you'll know it's her if you are indeed like uncertain or basically if you need like test and proof and all this. Because the problem is he can't just go. Daniel's in a position where he can't just pawn it off on somebody else. That's at least somebody else that's not just him.
Yeah.
And he wants to save his own skin, obviously. Yeah. But he also doesn't want to throw BB under the bus, and that's where the trick is.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, he kind of puts it. It's almost like a trust. Like how much do I really? If BB keeps screwing me over at every juncture, which she has up to this point, I have no obligation to save her. The only reason I want her is that I kind of like her. And again, he kind of wants a friend, most likely, maybe a girlfriend, perhaps in her. I read into it that Daniel Blake has like a one-sided Vanessa attraction to BB Urich. Now, again, one-sided. We haven't really drawn a fine point on, so I'm not backing that horse with a lot of capital. I'm just saying that it would be interesting that he wants these things in life, and he's kind of deluded himself a little in that, and he wants what Fisk has without like trying to bump him off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's kind of like he's basically Fisk, but he's falling short of the commitment to those ideals. And I think that's kind of like he's not seeing the obvious. Okay, this again. His whole thing is like if Fisk and Vanessa's relationship was rooted in absolute truth, their relationship's rooted on lies, which like per Fisk, Fisk had this great line in Daredevil season 3 that I loved. If it were true, it would not be a lie or something along those lines. If your love were true, then you wouldn't have to, what basically Dex was, told Dex the whole Julie Barnes thing initially, the whole thing of like, because again, it's a whole, if the love were true, there are no lies in that foundation.
Yeah.
Which is always the most fascinating thing about Wilson Fisk. The fact that, again, his relationship was beautiful because it was genuinely honest and as genuine as it could get, despite the fact that he's chopping people's heads off of car doors. Yeah. Anyway, so BB made a very interesting choice this episode. She passed the test. She did not sink him.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I think it was just a matter of luck that it would just happen to be Daniel's birthday. Because I think if it was any other occasion, then she would have provided that information.
Well, I mean, do you think it's just like if she didn't go on the tour of the room, would she have done it? That I don't even know if it's the birthday thing. I think it's like her being in the room.
Occasion itself, with her meeting, Daniel's mom. I think she would have felt some level of fondness and, not want to hurt Daniel at that moment. Yeah. And alternatively, even if it's less of affection, it could be the sense that maybe she doesn't think Wilson Fisk would willingly step away from power,
Hmm.
and thinks that Daniel's like pulling a fast one on her.
Okay, so you think she might have figured it out?
Um, either she might have figured it out, or maybe
I think it's a change of heart. I think it was like she
yeah,
peeked
I
behind
think,
the curtain of his
yeah,
room, she saw the photo with the father, she kind of put the pieces together. Okay, this guy, because again, we've established this with the Karen scene earlier this season that she she doesn't hate Daniel. Like initially, she like rolled her eyes a lot and just like, okay, Daniel's just easy.
she
He's this.
tolerated Daniel. Yeah,
Like we saw that in season one, which again, season one, the development of season one is always it's kind of mired because again, you gotta remember we're stuck with BB. We were ultimately stuck with BB and Daniel Blake, but then, like you said, we've restructured them and kind of recontextualized in a way it's been a lot more interesting. We I guess we fixed them, tremendously in the writing.
yeah.
And that's the thing. So I think she's kind of like I think she's gotten a glimpse into his life, but it's kind of too late ultimately. Where Daniel Blake is facing the reality, and even without like him finding like the little file in her pocket, I think he's still like he knew this was an inevitable choice he has to make, and even if like she just does the right thing, it's still not going to solve that problem.
Mhm.
So it's the inevitable choice of like what are you going to do now? He's at a crossroads that likely I predict is going to lead to an altercation. I suspect what's going to happen here. So that's kind of where we leave them off in the episode that he's confronting her. The mother is knocked out with the with the sleep medication or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's. I think something's going to happen. We'll get to that with the speculation, but let's just move on to the last one we got here. Let's talk about Jessica Jones.
Yeah, Jessica Jones is in a very interesting status quo. She's already presumably cohabitated, married, just had a kid with Luke Cage. And so I'm very curious where Luke is in this status quo. You know,
Yeah, so this is Jessica Jones exactly 7 years since season three of Jessica Jones. In fact, so very she's very comic book with her path right now. She's a mother. She's got Danielle. She's all seems to be a lot happier than she's ever been ever in in any of the.
the thing is, Dragon. It's like in the chronology of the MCU, it's probably closer to a decade because I think it's like what 2027, 2028. I think it's like
Well, no, you're right about I mean, I just mean like in terms of the years between the show and now. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So let's see, 'cause that was like 2019.
yeah. It was,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was. Sorry, that's what I. But you're right, though. It's probably a little, probably roughly 10 years or so with the whole like end game 5 year jump, all
yeah.
that rot. But anyway, but yes. The point being, it's been 7 years, like just outside of the. I'm just outside of the universe. I keep going with 7 years because within Daredevil of it all, we had like also the 7 years since then, and there was a anyway. Let's see, where was I? All right, right. So she's a lot happier. Roughly 10 years since. She seems to have she seems to have softened quite a bit. We've seemed to have motherhood's like a good look on her. She's basically she's kind of like she's channeled a lot of her strength into motherhood. It would seem that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting here, where it's like she hasn't lost her edge, but she's very much kind of like focused into a positive versus like it's like instead of being kind of directed by the trauma of her life, it's kind of a new purpose. It's like this is gonna be a weird comparison. It's kind of like in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Zuko's whole thing was like when he tried teaching Aang firebending. I know it's a weird comparison, just go with me on it. When he's teaching Aang firebending, uh, you know, basically his firebending came from like a place of like anger and trying to hunt the Avatar, and he realized, well, I'm on the good guy's side now. I can't do that. So he found the new purpose, like firebending being kind of light and just kind of being tradition and being coming from a positive place. And I think it's kind of what we're we are with Jessica Jones right now. She's kind of her strength and her heroism's coming from kind of a coming from a more positive place and just
Maternal, protective,
yeah, like
Yeah.
family is a thing that was in her backstory was a loss of family, and this is like the building of family. And the big takeaway,
tragedy family with like her mom coming back into her life, and
yeah,
being killed by her basically surrogate sister.
yeah. So that's yeah. So this gets into an idea you and I talked about in the beginning of this, well, of the our recaps of the second season. So she's born again. Again, the born again theme of the show. This is the born again version of Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
She's this is our reintroduction to her. She's gone through everything, but again, her recontextualization, or like I guess her update, her born again version of herself, is again she's a lot happier, a lot more a lot happier, strong in a different way. She's dragged back into the city and into the conflict. We see that retirement, or from what we can tell, it seems that she's been pretty retired. Like maybe she's not. We don't really know that yet, but it seems like to me, it reads like she moved out of the city and kind of retired from it all.
Yeah.
And she's a lot more vulnerable. However, at the same time, though, retirement worked out for her. Versus Matt, every time Matt retires, it's a train wreck. Her, it's gone rather well, but she's a lot more vulnerable than we've ever seen Jessica Jones at the same time, both in the character sense of like she's got someone at home to lose, and on the flip side, physically she's a lot more vulnerable than we've ever seen her, as kind of this post-birth effect that
which the way it manifests, I wasn't super a big fan of, especially like who her powers didn't work on.
I know. When I was watching the episode initially, I had this thing. I know they mentioned it, so I felt stupid for not putting it together. But it's just like a thing. I really, for a moment, thought, "What is Pal's secret? Does Pal have a secret we have not learned about yet? What is going on here?"
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It was like everyone wanted that guy to get punched really hard. And if anyone sort of the Punisher was going to do that.
Although I guess if she had her full strength, she could have knocked his jaw off. So
I know, but that would have been awesome.
honestly, I feel like maybe that would be justified if Pal's about to like murk Karen, but
Yeah.
I just didn't love her. I just didn't love her, like that happening, and especially to Pal of all people.
Yeah.
I feel like that should have been more emphasized, or because the thing is, when Jessica Jones moved about in that action sequence, which was really well done, I think we didn't really get a sense visually of how less powerful she was, because the thing is, what's kind of tricky.
She doesn't know when it's going to fall out.
No, it does, but the thing is, if she is like a mom and like her. She hasn't been like she hasn't been out fighting crime or having to be like in certain situations. So I just feel like the way because the thing is she moved like her movement and ability is like a step up from the Netflix Marvel, because the Netflix Marvel didn't have the budget to like do the stunt work and showcase the powers. So in this instance, like Jessica just kicking even more ass than she did previously. And when that power thing kind of spun her up, it's like I kind of wish it wasn't just at that moment. I kind of wish it was a little bit more like ebbs and flows, but
Okay, so the point being, Jessica Jones kind of back on the board, and it's a new status quo for her, and this whole kind of power issue is something that we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, it makes sense because then at that point it's like she can't just like walk in and just like beat up like the anti-vigilante task force, the Kingpin by herself.
Now, to me, I'm wondering if it's going to be like a psychological thing, where it's like the key to like unlocking her powers for good is like basically if she gets into like Mama Bear kind of mode, like that's when it's going to come out. Because that would make sense. Like she had her powers during the earlier sequence, but then again, she cracked a rib though, so I don't know. Maybe it isn't like a psychological thing. Maybe it isn't just like it's literally just the danger of it could drop out.
I mean, also like think of it this way: it's like women's bodies just generally change post pregnancy.
Well, no, that's what's great about it. In terms of like, I'm not saying it's purely psychological. I'm just saying,
No. It can be both.
yeah. I'm just saying in terms of like, if they want, eventually you have to wonder if they're going to do a workaround or a fix for it, and that's the only fix I can think of in the moment for that. Because I don't know. Either that, or it's maybe because she's. Imagine if she gave up drinking. Maybe that's why.
Like alcohol is to Jessica Jones as spinach just to Popeye.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like what if that is the case?
I mean, maybe it's less of like a power thing. It's more of the. I wonder if alcohol really numbs like the pain that she would have endured, like physically. And I think without the alcohol and with her just not being as physically active, like she's kind of in the negative mix of, oh, she's not at full strength, and B, when she gets hurt or feels something, she can numb that away with alcohol.
Yeah, I always read the alcohol thing as like she's an alcoholic precisely because it's kind of the Captain America thing where or I guess more like a Captain America Wolverine thing where it takes a lot for her to get drunk. In Cap's case, he can't get drunk. In Wolverine's case, he can get drunk, but it takes a lot.
I feel like with her being a woman and with her body mass, I feel like it doesn't take a lot as compared. I mean, it takes a lot it probably takes a lot for her compared to the average, high functioning alcoholic woman. But like, it's not like it's like I feel like she out of the three of them, Cap, Wolverine, and Jessica Jones, she'll probably be the first one to get drunk up to 3 in a drink contest.
Well, sure. I'm just saying. I think it's like I'm not saying like it takes a lot for her necessarily. I'm saying I think it's why she drinks as much as she drinks it because it just takes a lot to get there.
Oh, I see.
Because she can get drunk. We've seen her drunk. I'm just saying that's why she drinks as much as she does, because it takes that much.
Yeah, I guess with her,
she drank 24/7 in Jessica. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. Okay, so let's transition to the blinding moment of awesome, which sounds a little like.
Blind Matt Murdock. I'm blind Matt Murdock.
There we go. All right, bro, you go first.
My blinding moment of awesome is a character moment between Buck Cashman and Heather Glenn, and it's basically when Heather Glenn is just going through processing the trauma from her Muse experience, and Buck, in a way that's sort of manipulative, but also kind of sensual in a certain sense, ask for her to show him like what Muse did to her, and Heather is just choking Buck, and I think it's a great moment because in the Marvel and Netflix shows, sex I think is kind of approached in a way where it's when it does happen, there is a level of intimacy that can vary from the sensual with Daredevil Electra to the very visceral with Luke and Jessica to like these are adults that have sexual relationships and their lives can be defined by intimacy and and just having those kind of vulnerabilities in those relationships. And I think in this, it's interesting because it's like there's no sexual act, but the way that the scene plays out, there is an erotic nature. And I think back to that one quote from James Spader's character from The Office, and it's like everything is about sex.
Robert California,
and sex is about power. So I think in this context, there's a lot like Buck could easily get out of that situation, but Buck kind of letting Heather choke him as hard as she could. There is that kind of delusion. There's that sort of false sense of Heather kind of getting her power back by choking out not just a man, but someone who is that kind of capable of lethality. But for all intents and purposes, Buck is an operator. He's a manipulator. He knows how to get under people's skin. He knows how to make people feel vulnerable and not so have their guard up. And that's when he makes the killing. And I definitely feel like he has Daniel under his finger and he's got Heather's under his finger. It also helps that he's a good looking guy with the British accent.
Or evil Matt Murdock, depending on what the internet tells you.
Yeah.
It's even more interesting, just given that in real life, Daredevil is British.
Yes.
It's kind of funny. But no, yeah, that was it was an interesting seeing, and Heather Glenn a lot more interesting this season than she was in the first season. The first season, when I look back on it, I kind of agree with kind of some point that people have made, where like the Latvian heritage, ADA, she was
Sylvia.
What?
Is it Sylvia or I'm trying to think the.
I don't know. I thought it might be. I don't know if it's Sylvia. Maybe it is. It's something like Sylvia though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah. So her, she wasn't ADA, right? She was like making the deals, or
No, she was an ADA.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like him flirting with the ADA, that lady had a lot more state power, a lot more. Like,
Sophia.
What?
Sophia.
Sophia.
Yeah.
So Sophia, she had a lot more presence and a lot more charm in like one scene than Heather Glenn really had. It's not her fault per se, because again, Heather Glenn, by definition, she's just supposed to be a failed love interest. So,
well, but also like
I'm not saying it's like that they had to do that. I'm just saying that it's kind of.
But also, I think you have to think of the context of Matt's relationship with Sophia and Heather. Sophia, he's just kind of like a colleague and professional, and he's kind of putting that typical Matt Murdock charm that is so prominent in the OG Netflix Marvel. But with Heather, his relationship with her is kind of like trauma bond. I mean, she didn't have trauma, at that time, but he kind of came into his relationship with Heather because she was safe, she was mature, and it was he was able to be a shell of a person with Heather. And after the whole trauma of losing Foggy and Karen, leaving him.
Yeah, Matt's just thinking like, oh god, all she wants to do is have shower sex and ask me like, what's with all the bruises and the wounds and everything? I can't deal with this. All the explanations.
Matt's a weaker man in that scenario. You can't just lie. You can't just.
No, it's not that. It's a fact. It's like every time. It's like, oh, God.
You say yes. You say yes, Ray. When someone asks if you're a god or if you want to do shower sex, you say yes.
Yes. Oh, guys, I'm just saying the charmed life of Matt Murdock is just like all these beautiful women. They just want to.
And he has the disability where it's okay for him to make physical contact with a woman's face or any part of their body, permissive. But yeah.
Yep. Oh, sorry, that's not your shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I like the sound of your voice. It's like, Matt Murdock, you slut of a human being. It is a miracle. You know what's the miracle for Matt Murdock? He hasn't accidentally fathered like 10,000 children in Hell's Kitchen alone.
I mean, he could have.
I mean, it's not a matter of who could. It's just a miracle that he didn't. Like that's the thing. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Anyway, let's see. Where was it? Okay. So, but yeah, it was but yeah, she's gotten a lot more interesting this season. A lot more material to work with, and I think this was a big scene. This was like a really big scene for, and they're trying to. It would seem that we're trying to do a leap of getting her from where she started to potentially being kind of the successor to Muse.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I think this scene helps in getting us there.
Yeah.
And also bonds her to Buck, which is also pretty.
I swear, I felt like in the sort of flashback or scenes of Muse, it looked like the actress plays Heather was in the Muse mask herself.
I mean, it's possible. It's kind of hard to tell though. You mean just physically in terms of like the build and everything, like.
No, like her eyes and like I could tell it was like I think you could tell it was the actress who plays Heather.
I mean, that'd be interesting. I mean, I think we're. Well, I don't want to get into it because it's very spoilery, but I don't know if it's going to be this season or next season, but I don't know. The point being, whether she does have that transformation or not, I don't know how far we're going to get with it. At the very least, it seems like we're building that track, and we'll probably get her like that in the third season, just given that we have only 2 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so here's my blinding moment. Okay, so I'm a sucker for the Daredevil Kingpin scenes, and particularly the fights, and of course always the color theory and the symbolism, all that stuff. So without question, my blinding moment was the Daredevil Kingpin fight, specifically the death of Rabbit in a snowstorm. I've been in love with this painting and the motif and the shadows on the glass. One of my favorite episodes of Daredevil at all, along with the prison episode from season 2. These are my favorite episodes of Daredevil. Both episode 8, if memory serves. Well, actually, you know what? Sorry, season 2 that was episode 9, because the idea is Kingpin appeared in episode 8, and then episode 9 is when we
confrontation.
Yeah. Well, no, episode 9 is when we had like the whole person episode. Then 10 was the confrontation.
Okay.
That's how it worked. Anyway, sorry. To this episode. Again, my most anticipated moment of season 2 was the two of them in a room together. Now, again, he swooped in, he saved Bullseye. It was the only time they physically have been together, and it was a cool moment in itself. This is the first time, like, the actual scene. Of course, the thing with and D'Onofrio's even mentioned this in interviews as well, is that I've always, I love that. I love it when we build up these two having a scene together, and we give them all this time apart, and they're kind of their cause and effect kind of element of their dynamic and their relationship with each other. And just the fact that we build them up, and of course season 3 of Daredevil is always the best example of where they did not truly share the same space together until the very end of the season. And the fact that we're doing this like 2 episodes before the ending, this is very interesting to me. But
and notably in season 3, it's not like that they shared a scene. They didn't communicate through their, like, because remember in season 1 they got to speak on the phone.
Yeah, on the radio.
On the radio, yeah, on the phone. Like, so they've had some level of contact, even not like sharing the same physical space.
Yeah.
And it's notable in this season that they haven't shared the same physical space or even communicate with one another till this episode.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, between Born Again,
obviously they appeared like in the boxing ring area, but yeah.
But you know what I mean. They haven't communicated. Yeah. Anyway, so this sequence, this was perfect. I mean, it had the perfect start. I love that, again, Kingpin hasn't said a word to anyone in his grief. Like, he walked out of the funeral and everything after he paid tribute to his wife and everything, because he's going on the tear. Kingpin hasn't said a word to anyone until this conversation with Daredevil. We have like the shadow bit, which was awesome, where you see Daredevil's shadow on his face as he's in Red Hook. He's in the place where he fixed his marriage with Vanessa, where they house Rabbit in a snowstorm after they killed the lover that she cheated on him with.
Mm-hmm.
Just great setting. Just all of this is perfect. It's. Again, it's full circle to the diner conversation, is with the way this conversation goes, which is what I loved so much about it. Like, he's offering condolences to Vanessa, which is genuine, and Kingpin knows it's genuine, which is, again, reflective of him offering condolences for Foggy.
Yeah.
Which I loved. So it's just the action is pitch perfect. The fact is, the characterization is there, and then the action is pitch perfect, which just takes me back to like the 2 big fights, the alleyway fight, and then of course the 3-way fight. There are actually bits from the 3-way fight we put in this fight, which I loved. Like Daredevil, it's kind of a Killing Joke-esque offer that he makes to the Kingpin, which is great. Mm-hmm. Now, I know it's more specifically, it's like the deal from the end of season 3, but I'm just saying it's kind of like that, like the rare moment from like Batman, like that Batman Joker had that one moment in the rain where, Batman made an offer to rehabilitate him. He made an offer to put an end to it so they don't kill each other in their fatalistic relationship. So there's shades of Killing Joke in this, in which they both realize, like, there's the way in which he's approaching the deal feels a lot like the Killing Joke, in the sense of, like, look, we don't have to kill each other. We don't have to do this. He's having a very human conversation with the Kingpin here. He's the Kingpin's more vulnerable than ever. It's the fact that Daredevil is trying a different tact with them, aside from violence. And I think Kingpin, he respects that he appreciates that to some degree, where, again, it's like him he's reconciled with it at this point. This conversation definitely drives that point home for him, that there really is nothing left for him but violence. But this is like the last vestige of it since losing Vanessa. And it's just that realization that, Daredevil is like, that is the most meaningful relationship I have outside Vanessa, and this is what life is for me now.
Yeah.
But again, I just love the renegotiation of the deal from season 3 that's going on here. Just the moment, but the moment he says Vanessa, we have the fight. The moment he says, like, speak her name again, it's like this. Honestly, this scene is the combination of like 3 epic Kingpin Daredevil scenes from 3 seasons of that show.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. It's just Daredevil is he's all he has left. It's just the obsession and the dread and just Daredevil just has always been symbolic. Going back to the first season, going back to the alleyway scene, there is that fight with Daredevil. Daredevil has been the symbol of his obsession and his dreads and just everything that has kept him down in life. And like we always had that bit where, this city doesn't deserve saving. It deserves people like my father, as he's beating up Daredevil. And basically it's him comparing Daredevil to his father to an extent, where his father was representative of violence. And that's kind of, what Daredevil was representative of to him.
Yeah.
And, it's the fact that, the way when Born Again, it's Daredevil's now has been recontextualized as, it's excitement and embracing my destiny. And yes, it's a fatalistic relationship, but it's like, when he was kind of at a lull in his marriage, that's kind of what he had, it's like what he was lacking, the passion and then the violence, like the passion with Vanessa and the violence and, being in the power,
Mm-hmm.
It's like the only thing that rivaled his relationship with Vanessa was this fatalistic relationship, was the fact that he was the one guy that opposed him and took him down. I think he always, deep down, he respected it, even though he hated him for it.
Yeah.
And, he saw and we saw in the boxing match, he has longed for this fight. He was fighting an unworthy opponent. Every punch he threw, he was imagining was Daredevil,
Mm-hmm.
It's, and again, it's not a, sorry, I love that it's not just it's a fierce fight. It's a very well done fight. It's great. But I love that it's seeing one, just in the execution fight. I love that Daredevil, he's like dodging the moves at first, which is my favorite element in terms of the choreography of the fight. Just dodging all the moves and everything. As Kingpin's like, just without, like, Daredevil's like has that sigh of like, I tried to talk him down. And he's avoiding the chair that he's like hurling at him and everything. Just perfect Daredevil, classic Daredevil stuff. But that's the thing. Like all of this fight it's as fierce as it is. This is just how this is giving Kingpin an outlet to grieve. He's been very reserved the whole episode, aside from breaking the doctor's back. But that was before the funeral. This is just how the man grieves, through violence. And again, just at the end of it all, there, he points out, the stalemate of, you can't send me to prison. It's basically, you can't send me to prison, and you can't. We know you're not going to kill me. So it's like all of this. It's just the realization of All I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is make you suffer until one of us dies.
Yeah.
Likely will be you, because you're not going to kill me. And at this point, Kingpin, he wants death. He wants Daredevil to kill him. It feels like, because we can go back to like season 3 when like he thought the wedding was done. It's like, just kill me, come on. That's kind of where he's at ultimately. Like, go ahead, kill me.
Mm-hmm.
The again, death of rabbit in a snowstorm. Sorry, I'm long winded on this. This is a big thing. But again, the death of rabbit in a snowstorm, though, that is the echoing thing. That is the perfect, like, cherry on top. Just seeing his realization that all I have left is this. I've killed the last symbol, the last vestige I have of Vanessa in that painting. Which then he stains with Daredevil's blood. Which was so great that, again, his blood's been stained on, Daredevil's blood's been stained on. The painting is now beyond repair, and it's just like, in the fact that he's realized he destroyed, and that's the symbol of the fatalistic relationship right there. Just again, I can't underemphasize. I can't overemphasize how perfect this was in terms of the characterization of these guys and where they are in the season and the story, and the fact it comes where it does, this is Kingpin's catharsis done just flawlessly.
Yeah.
That's why it's a blinding moment. And, Rohit's like reading the paper right now. We're just going to go with the Braille Trail. Let's go with the Braille Trail.
Hey man, it's so awesome and it just blinds any old senses. You truly are Matt Murdock in this moment.
Yeah.
That's how you able to read the Braille.
Yep.
On the trail. Anyway, in terms of anything to highlight in terms of the Braille Trail, I mean, I think like as I noted earlier, it's like Kingpin specifically does not talk until Daredevil, speaks. Or I'm trying to think if there's any like clues or hidden Easter or something that just like, oh, this might be interesting to see develop the next 2 episodes. But what about you, Dragon?
Oh yeah, plenty. So the Requiem episode title. So Requiem often is held for dead queens. In fact.
Okay.
So that's the thing. It's kind of interesting that with the episode, it's the death of Kingpin's queen, so to speak. So it's Requiem. Obviously, it's kind of an operatic, kind of like basically it's a whole thing of like it's a kind of a funerary thing, and it's being applied to dead queens as well as just like operatic moments and the whole like Daredevil Kingpin fights. There's a lot of Requiem to go around there, just like the operatic aftermath or aftermath, as Jacob would have you believe. He puts the rose on the casket. Of course, the rose, a little symbolic of Richard Fisk, perhaps from the comics. The rose, the whole thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, also it's the color theory. Again, I've gone on. I've bored everyone about how I love the color theory and the red, black. We have blue with bullseye, and we have like the red. So again, the fact that Kingpin even has his own wedding. It's interesting that he wears white at the funeral for Vanessa. But it's kind of I think how she liked to remember him, and that's kind of like it's the I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and again, the red maybe being symbolic of just kind of the Daredevil having kind of in his mind facilitated the events that transpired.
Mm-hmm.
So Jessica Jones, my favorite little Easter egg, my favorite little reference. We played the awesome Jessica Jones theme just for a bit on the kids' piano.
Oh, I didn't even register that.
Yes.
That's cool.
And remember, when she does that, she smiles. So it's the whole Kilgrave thing where she's recontextualized this. She's smiling again. She's in a happier place, and she's like smiling without like the bitter irony of Kilgrave haunting her for a change.
And she's wearing purple.
Yes, she's wearing purple. Yep. So all the classic Jessica Jones stuff. Where
where is she living?
She's in New York, but it's outside of Hell's Kitchen.
She's like in the suburbs, of, like a New York suburb.
I don't know if she's in Long Island or not, but she's in the suburbs.
Okay.
That's like she's in the suburbs.
I thought she was in upstate New York for a reason.
But... it's possible. I just don't know where in New York. It's somewhere where the suburbs are. I know Long Island is the suburbs.
It's got to be the upstate New York because it says outside of the anti-vigilante task force jurisdiction.
Yeah.
My assumption is that it's all New York City and whichever suburbs are part of New York City. So,
okay. All right, let's see. So with Jessica Jones stuff, we had Danielle. Basically, she had Danielle with Luke Cage, so that's their child.
Mm-hmm.
We set up the power issue that she's having because of the birth of Danielle, so that's something that you keep track of. Mm-hmm. So this is the big one that you kind of teed up. We should talk about Mr. Charles on behalf of Val, the Contessa.
Mm-hmm.
She is recruited. That either she or Mr. Charles Mr. Charles has been recruiting powered people.
Mm-hmm.
For CIA purposes, and Luke Cage said yes.
Do we know it's Luke Cage? Because it could be just other people.
It was the Matt Murdock's reaction. That was the gag. The whole thing of like some people, have said yes. And he says, "Oh, the way they says, oh, I mean, it's one of two. It's him or Iron Fist. I'm very certain it's going to be Luke.
I figure it could have been Tish.
What?
Trish.
You mean Trish?
Trish, yeah. Because I figure Luke Cage.
No, it can't. No, it has to like Matt's reaction. It has to be somebody that he also knows. He doesn't know Trish. Well, I mean, I know he's still. I know he saved Trish, but he doesn't know Trish. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I feel like he knows enough of Jessica Jones' past that I think that would be a genuine reaction to like, oh, it's either the father of your child or your surrogate sister. I feel like both can still be.
Okay, look, Trish, Trish makes sense. I'm just saying I don't think based on the reaction and I think the audience and everyone they are expecting Luke Cage, and if it is revealed to and that'd be Trish instead, I don't think that's going to necessarily be a satisfactory reveal. I'm saying for everyone. I don't,
I mean, because the thing is, Luke Cage would not do what a CIA operative like Charles.
Remember though, Luke Cage, if it's Heroes for Hire, if he's paid.
I don't know if they would. If I feel like if Heroes for Hire is a thing, I feel like it'd be more like, hey, like so and so lady on Fifth Street is paying us to like make sure like her son is like safe from a gang or whatever. Versus like, hey, we're being paid by the freaking CIA to do black ops stuff. I don't know if that seems natural to Luke Cage as the character, and also what Marvel.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm saying this could be the first time that it's like something is happening with Luke Cage, like to explain why he's not there.
Well, have you seen the leaks for season?
I know he's going to be in season 3 along with Iron Fist. I'm aware of that.
I mean, and considering where his attire, I feel like he's probably still in the status quo of being the Kingpin of Harlem.
Well, that's the thing. He is the Kingpin of Harlem. That's where we left him off.
No, that's why I feel like he's still in that status quo.
Yeah, but that's the assumption. But again, there's a lot of talk right now that we might actually be finally getting the Heroes for Hire show, which is possible. And regardless, Arm's Paradise could be where Heroes for Hire operates out of, so it is possible.
Yeah.
Regardless, all I'm saying is the impression I get is that we're teeing up Luke Cage. I think it's what everyone's kind of expecting. You're right. Look, if it's Trish, that would make a lot. Contextually, that would make sense. Yes, it would make sense for that character and the kind of characters that Val recruits with the Thunderbolts and everything. So that would kind of, not saying it's necessarily going to be the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers, but it would make sense.
Just like if Mr. Charles is going for superpowered individuals that don't have moral compunctions, Luke Cage is not a character who would you would seek out, or B that you expect to say yes to, right?
Yeah, I
just can't imagine Mr. Charles would get much value out of Luke Cage beyond just being muscle, where he couldn't just get that with anyone else who also is willing to, kill someone if needed, right?
Well, that's the thing. Maybe it's like a mission that just needs a superpowered asset who will not get killed to deliver something. It could be a
one-off mission. The implication is that Charles is specifically recruiting people to act as basically like government assets. And I don't know if Luke Cage, being someone who didn't, was very much wanting to get out of prison, I don't know if it would be willing to kind of get under the employ of some basically. Of someone like Mr. Charles. Unless the only reason I can imagine Luke Cage working with Mr. Charles is if maybe he got taken down as Kingpin of Harlem. He's got as he had Jessica and Danielle, and then took upon this offer to basically not have Jessica and his baby taken away. That's the only way I could see that makes sense in my mind.
So a couple of theories, just real quick with the Luke Cage thing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So again, based on how the episode goes, my assumption is that assuming it is we're saying that Mr. Charles, Luke Cage said yes to Mr. Charles, and he's on a mission. That's why we're not seeing him this season. Assuming that is the case, just hypothetically, assuming that's the case. I imagine, Luke Cage finds out that his Charles sent people after to kill his wife and daughter, and he's not thrilled about that, and that's the main thing that he's definitely not going to be happy. That's going to definitely break some ties there, and that's how Luke Cage is going to get back into the story in season 3. Now, beyond that, in terms of how to get him from point A to point B, for why the heck he would say yes, your thing, I think, is a great idea. I think it's something that absolutely could have happened. That something goes. Harlem's Paradise is still a thing. We have had Easter eggs of it, so the club is still around. Mm-hmm. But if he lost it somehow in between, because we saw that at New Year's, when Kingpin was inaugurated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that maybe it fell out of that. I imagine. I don't think it's a blackmail. It could be a blackmail thing, Mr. Charles. All we know is Mr. Charles somehow convinced them, and Jessica thinks like like she doesn't. I imagine she doesn't know how he convinced them. So maybe it was like a personal safety thing. Luke Cage reluctantly says yes, but whatever he asked them to do, he ultimately didn't do, and that's why Mr. Charles specifically sends people to get Jessica Jones and the child because he broke the deal. Let's kill him.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. Like Mr. Charles is arrogant, but I don't feel like he's stupid, right?
I don't know. He's tough talking to Kingpin, who is a very unstable individual. So
yeah, but like Kingpin is small. Like Kingpin is like he's mayor of a city, but like, Charles works with the CIA that like has taken down warlords across the world. Like he's like the bigger fish in the small pond for all intents and purposes.
Okay, well, the other thing I wanted to get at with Luke Cage is that perhaps this to me would make sense is if it were just like using him for non-lethal operations and stuff or something, it would be that Val knew how to manipulate all the people on the Thunderbolts and how to give them missions, and they say until she needed them to meet to kill each other, they were very handled and they were very much used for operations and missions that yes, usually morally questionable, but she knew like just the right lies and just the right way to play the egos and all that kind of stuff. So it would not surprise me if like somehow, if that's how Mr. Charles was operating, with knowing how less than cuddly Mr. Charles can be, but it is Matthew Lillard, so he can be charming. There's no way Luke Cage would I think Luke Cage has good enough instincts. He would know, okay, this guy is not good, but he's either paying a lot of money that we need for some reason, perhaps startup capital for Heroes for Hire. I don't know. Then again, he has Danny Rand, so he doesn't really need money, but that's, it's Luke Cage, though. I don't know. I mean, Heroes for Hire was like the easiest way I could imagine, why he would actually like say yes to Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles somehow hired him. But you're right, though. A lot of factors would suggest why would he need money? Mm-hmm. Why would he say yes? So I mean, I don't know. All I can tell you is that the impression that we're getting is that he said, Mr. Charles was talking about Luke Cage, but you're right though. Trish was story wise, it makes sense, but I don't know why Matt would have that reaction. We're drifting off focus here.
You can still have a reaction if you especially know that Jessica's past and how close Jessica and Trish were, and Trish was to Jessica what Karen it was to him. So like I feel like he can relate to that level.
All right, fine. When they confirm it's Luke Cage, we'll see what you say then. All right, I'll go there.
I feel like I like the argument to your point is because in light of what we saw of him in season 3, and if Matthew Lillard is going to show up as a supporting character for season 3 of Born Again, that there's merit to, and Luke Cage is also there, and there's a connection, that then there's merit to your point. So
Again, I'm saying, no one who's any new audience member who's watching the show, no one is going to know who Trish is. All right, I hate to say it, that's what the case. They're not going to know.
But I don't feel like that's the whole thing with Mr. Charles. Is that something that you feel like, well, I guess why bring it up if that's not going to be paid off?
Yeah, that's it just feels like it's got to be. Look, I think. Look, I don't think they're going to. Obviously, our guys respect the continuity of the Netflix shows and all that. They're going for the deep cut. I love that. It's just for the stuff that is beyond Daredevil, though. I don't know how deep cuts they're going to go. And I know Trish is not necessarily a deep cut, but where we left her off, that's like season 3 of Jessica Jones, which everyone Jessica Jones were thinking of the best season, which was 1.
Yeah,
so I don't know. Because you have Diamond back and you have her and they're in the raft and it's a whole I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see them develop that. I really would. I was saying that the evidence has been we're lucky to be getting what we are now. We saw the hurdle we had to go through to get that.
Isn't Diamondback actually Luke Cage's half brother?
Yeah, that's right.
So Jessica Jones' surrogate sister, and basically, if Luke was married to Jessica, he's brother-in-law.
I mean, yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. Matt's not gonna have that reaction that I
No. That's what I'm just thinking. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting that the people who end up in the raft, they're just kind of that. It's kind of a messed up family reunion.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. The surrogate sister, brother. Okay, I get you now.
Yeah.
Plus, it's the other thing too. If honestly, it's also if we're going after, why the heck would he? I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying that it leaves you wondering the how. And I'm saying without wondering the how is like, well, if we're gonna go with Luke Cage, you would have a lot easier time convincing Diamondback to go along with the CIA operations.
That's what that. So that point,
no,
like
I get you, but I'm just saying it's like it's got to be. I'm saying I'm sure they have some reason, but it's like these are the things where I don't know how deep they're gonna go on those things.
I mean, that's fair enough. We'll
I
see.
don't know.
We'll see how season 2 shakes out. We'll see if we see Malcolm, if we see supporting characters from the other shows. Dude, if we see DW in season 3, Born Again, I'd be so freaking hyped.
I know that'd be amazing.
Oh man.
Okay, so we have the Hello Karen runner, which is great. The whole Hello Karen, Hello Benjamin. Awesome. Clips from the original.
People were so horny over
her sitting on him when she was going to shoot him, right?
Yeah. It's like, damn.
Why? People are sick.
Hey, we're living a very isolated, lonely time in the internet, man. People.
Deborah Ann Wool's a beautiful woman, but still, it's like, come on.
Whoa, don't skip out on Wilson Bethel, man.
Yeah, look, I know Wilson Bethel's in a very. They have the whole All Rise show to celebrate. Okay, Mark Callan, very attractive lawyer character. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's just we have very attractive people just because, it's like, she's got to shoot them, but still, it's like, we can't turn it's a tense scene. Why can't we just have a tense scene? Why does it have to be, something seductive's going on here? We have like an intimate choking scene. It's the whole Robert California sex means all these things kind of.
Sex means power, and everything else is sex. So
yeah. So this murder is also sex. So there you go.
Oh, it depends on how you thrust it.
You're a sick man, Rohith.
It's called having a life, Dragon.
Just imagine like Bullseye going into a sex shop and killing the task force guys there. Just imagine how horrifying that would be. That's what I'm saying. Imagine that. It's like that opening from The Boys season. I think it's season 3. Oh no, 4. Wait, maybe 4. Yeah, I think it was 4. She killed the guy with the the thing.
Oh.
I don't know if it was that 3 or 4, but it was one of those seasons which Kimiko used one of those, like the Starlight strap on to kill someone.
Oh man, I think that was that. I want to say that's season 3 because there's like a Russian operative or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Because I
remember it was a Russian. I don't remember. Yeah, it was a.
Yeah.
Which would make sense with 4 because that's the whole Soldier Boy thing. So the Russians. So you're right. It's probably 4. No, 3. Sorry, not 3. I meant 3. Okay. Anyway, let's not dwell on it. Let's just move on. So point being, the whole Hello Karen runner. We had the clips from the original series during the funeral, which I thought was beautiful. Love that we used the clips.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbit in a Snowstorm, again, we have the blood stain on it, and now again we keep recontextualizing the blood stain. Now Daredevil's blood is on it, and it is destroyed. So again, it's a big moment with the death of Rabbit in a Snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the color theory, the red, the red and the white. Let's see. So it's housed in the underground jail in Red Hook, which is where Wilson and Vanessa, kind of rekindled their marriage in the Born Again season 1.
Yeah.
Pal kills the little informant and pins it on the vigilantes, and Cole North is disturbed by that disloyal act, and that given Cole's progression in the comics, that is something to keep track of. He might have a redemption arc.
Yeah. And also, just to let you know, so the strap on thing, the Kimiko, that's beginning of season 4.
Yeah.
And because season 4 is when the boys are more I want to say they're kind of still organized as a group, because at season 3 it's like Huey is working with that department of like
Victoria Newman.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
right, anyway, let's see. Okay, so again, so Pal killed the informant. Cole North setup. Uh, Kingpin breaks his ties with Mr. Charles, who has the ear of the governor.
Oh, never mind. They both of those things are that was in season 3, episode 4.
Look, I'm glad. Can we not derail things about the boys? Can we focus on the episode?
Continue.
Okay, my point. All right, let's see. So again, we actually got we got the shot you were talking about, right? You, Mr. Charles, with the SWAT guys. You know, with the guys, they entered looking for the guns that were not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, Mr. Charles, you know, Kingman's broken says Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles has the ear of the governor. He's basically backing the governor for taking Red Hook away from Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
There is talk of prison, which is fueling theories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this one was a bit of like, I was really optimistic and I figured it wouldn't happen, but I deluded myself with hope. We didn't get Claire. We got Soledad, because apparently every Hispanic woman is a nurse in movies and television. So, you know,
well, I mean, it's New York City.
I know it's happened. I'm just saying, it was like I was really hopeful for
you
Claire.
have a Spanish population, so it's helpful to have nurses able to be fluent in English.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm not saying it's inaccurate. I'm just saying it's like, come on. It's like we were so close to getting Claire, and it's like,
Claire's coming back to season 3, so
wait, do we know Claire's coming back for 3? It was just highly speculated.
It's heavily rumored, but I feel like she'll come back to season 3.
I hope so, man. I miss Claire. We all miss Claire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. So look, I'm just saying it's just very convenient that we have. But you're right, though. It's accurate. I'm just saying, like, we had like Miles Morales' mother, Rio Morales. You know, she's also a nurse.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's just kind of like convenient. Like, everyone was getting hyped. Like, he says, like, I know someone, a nurse. It's like, oh my god, come on, that was clearly bait.
I mean, did she not say she was a nurse? Like,
I'm not saying it wasn't established, but it's like, come on, when Daredevil says, I know someone, a nurse, come on.
Well, because the thing is, if Claire was coming back in season 2, it would have been reported, and like you.
But that would have made such a wonderful surprise if it wasn't reported and she showed up.
There's no way you can have that be surprised, considering Rosario Dawson, who's already playing the titular character in a Disney Plus show. Like, if she was going to be in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again,
she doesn't have a lightsaber. I think it's possible.
but like, it would have been reported in the trades, and she would have shown up in the trailer. She's a big enough character. What?
She can be stealthy.
Like, I don't know about the character in fiction, but I don't know.
Not a 6 foot tall Luke Cage. I mean, you know, get around.
Look, I think we'll if we're gonna see Claire, we're gonna see her in season 3 more.
Yeah, no, you're right. I got really hopeful when he said that line. I don't know. I knew it was probably not gonna happen, but it was like, I figured Karen was going to reluctantly patch him up, but the fact was, like, the Soledad felt a little bit like a middle finger, just a little bit. It made sense. It's not a problem. It's just like, if you gave in to the hope of Claire, it was like, oh man, it's like, dang it.
Also, it's not like Karen knows Claire that well. Like, Claire knows, like, Matt knows Claire more.
No, I mean that like Karen would patch Bullseye up instead of Claire.
No, what I'm saying is that, like, does Karen even know Claire that well to have, like, a relationship? Like,
honestly, no, because Claire met Foggy.
Yeah, I think Claire has more of a relationship with, like, Luke, you know, and Winnie. So if there was a Heroes for Hire show, it makes sense for her to show up naturally there, not Daredevil. But yeah, so I think it's on you to think that Karen knows the specific nurse that also is hooked up with the.
No, I'm not. No. Karen doesn't have to know her. That's not it's like Daredevil could call her. He knows her number. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know a nurse. When I get back, I will call said nurse. It's a pretty straight line.
Don't worry, Dragon. You'll get to see Rosario Dawson grace the screen in Star Wars and Marvel in the near future.
Oh, shut up. Okay. Anyway, it's like it always bums me out because we have room for Claire, but it makes sense that we have someone in Claire's place. Like season 3 of Daredevil, we didn't have Claire, but we had Mother Maggie, Sister Maggie, which made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, it made sense for that story, and why we didn't have Claire was always like the bummer, like, oh man, no Claire.
Well, because she went to the other.
I know she was in Luke. I'm aware. I'm just saying. I know.
Dang,
I'm saying it makes sense that she's not.
Maybe you should write a letter to Rosario Dawson and then see her at a convention soon.
Okay. Anyway, the watch paid off just as I hoped. Now that keeps paying off like a slot machine. He's using that watch to track those crates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, finds the weapons cache. We destroy. We seemingly. What do you think? Do you think the weapons cache is all destroyed, or did some of it make it out?
I feel like if something made it out, there would have been like a lingering shot of it.
Okay.
To like tease, like, oh god, imagine if like random civilians or gang members like come upon this. That I think adds to the chaos of New York City.
All right, so Kingpin. Sorry. I already mentioned. All right, so Karen Page was arrested by Pal.
Yes.
It's a biggie, so it was in the Kingpin's clutches. Daniel Blake and BB, they're at the mom's house in Staten Island while she's asleep. Now, here's what I predict. Okay, especially given the circumstances, it's got a night. It's like the mother's asleep. I think we're gonna parallel, the Kingpin Ben Urich scene from season 1 of Daredevil. I think it's gonna reverse though. I think she's gonna reluctantly kill Daniel Blake. I
was really wanting to say Daniel and BB fuck. That's what happens when the mom is asleep.
Oh my God, come on, man. I think the altercation is he's going to get into it, and he's again going full tilt with it and feeling like he has to do something here.
No, what a book is going to kill BB, and then Daniel stands in the middle because of the power of love, and then BB is just sad about it. That could also happen.
You're not gonna take any of this seriously, are you?
No. I think I can see there being like a false red herring where like it looks like Daniel's about to like hurt BB, but Daniel's actually like getting BB like an out, and then Buck comes in. It's like, you made a mistake, Daniel. It's like, I know. It's like, well, it all's fair in love and war or whatever, and then Buck kills Daniel. That's I think what happens.
Okay, so you think he's gonna kill Daniel when he chooses not to?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: do you think, out of respect for Daniel, he uses this as a teaching moment for BB and says, "Okay, look, Daniel's going to be the leak"?
No.
But okay, he's probably also going to kill BB. He's going to try to kill BB. Then is what you're saying?
Well, no, like he'll probably try to get to Daniel's place, and then BB's already left.
Okay. I don't know. I still think my thing might, because it'll be the inverse of basically it'll be BB pulling a Karen Page with Wesley. In a sense,
I feel like Daniel is like someone who genuinely, like, he's a people pleaser, and to a certain extent, he does care for BB. And the fact is that you need to, hey, I can't protect you. It's like clearly he's like, he wouldn't say that if he doesn't feel like he values BB as a friend or someone he cares about.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'm still convinced it's going to end up being like he'll reluctantly try and feeling he has to please the Kingpin, he has to pick the side of Kingpin and Buck and all these people. It's like I can't let you leave with that. Like, I'm not saying he's going to maybe directly try and kill her, but I think it's going to be a thing where maybe either by accident something happens, or it's like it turns into a thing where he just wanted her not to leave with the thing, and then she fights him, and then
I think Daniel like saves BB's life. He gets her to leave. Buck comes in, feels bad, disappointed, kills Daniel, and then Daniel's mom wakes up and sees her dead son's body and screams, to that effect.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, last one. We have the Devil's Rain money shot. So during the action sequence, we have this great money shot where he uses the Billy Club to kind of propel himself forward and basically knee Kingpin in the face.
Yeah.
That cover of one of the Devil's Rain comics, of course, Born Again with Mayor Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, the whole like team in the gathering the vigilantes together to take Kingpin down.
Yeah.
All of that from Devil's Rain. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right, and that is the episode, and let's just kind of round things out with some final thoughts. So I really love the episode, man. I thought it's been very strong. The reports were not greatly exaggerated. The episode 4 onward, we have just been doing gangbusters, man. It's been getting better and better, and I'm looking forward to where we go from here. If we've already had our big Kingpin showdown, and the fact that we had our Kingpin showdown, it's beautifully framed and everything, and then it's just this, we ended up being we started as a conversation, we have our fight, we end with a conversation of like, well, what are you going to do? And Daredevil doesn't have a good answer for him, and it's like we're going to need something more. That's where we're going with episode 6. I mean, they got to have something big or something really impressive story wise planned for episode 8. Man, they gotta.
No, I definitely agree.
So I'm so sold on it, man. I love everything with this. Is a big episode, with all the loss to Vanessa. It's a huge moment in Kingpin's narrative, and it will be. So I'm very much looking forward to the season 2. Has been just been going very well. It's been going way better. It's been received the way I wanted season one to be received, and I'm pleased as peaches about it, man. I really am.
Yeah, just 2 weeks, and then we have the Punisher special presentation. one more kill, or one last kill, and then we'll see Daredevil again, March and April of 2027.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, that's all for now. Until the next daring installment of Discerning Daredevil, Born Again.